Today I want to talk about another lost band of the 90s, namely Siebenbürgen from Sweden. They were by no means an insignificant band. They lasted for 15 years and 6 studio albums. You could roughly divide their career into 3 parts. First, the underground years in the 90s, when their first 2 albums were noticed mostly by the black metal scene only. Second, around the turn of the millennium, they attracted broader audiences outside the black metal box and toured Europe regularly. Third, in the 2000s, they had long periods without releases or gigs, many lineup changes, and finally faded away. Siebenbürgen were formed in 1994 by Markus on guitar and vocals, Fredrik on bass and Anders on drums. They had started playing in bands in the early 90s when everybody in Sweden wanted to be the new Entombed or the next Dismember, but these guys did not want to be just another run-of-the-mill death metal band. Now the question was what to do instead. Inspiration finally struck when Markus met Mara, an artist who was writing poems and painting pictures about the vampiric dark side. Vampiric metal was going to be their kind of music. Mara suggested Siebenbürgen as a band name, which is German for Transylvania, Count Dracula's home country, today in Romania but used to be Hungarian in the past. Mara introduced Markus to Loreia, who would contribute violin and female vocals, and later Linus joined them as a lead guitarist. After the second demo, they were signed by Napalm Records for their first album Loreia in 1997. For those of you who don't speak Swedish, Markus explained the lyrics in a Blaze magazine number 17. The legend of Loreia describes her as the cruel mistress of the darkest hour of the night. She lives in the forests surrounding the medieval town Grimheim, where the ground is covered with the blood of her countless male victims. Scary stuff. Towards the end of the 90s, a lot of bands were experimenting, taking black metal into new musical areas, for example Samael, Therion or Moonspell. Nevertheless, Siebenbürgen managed to create their own recognizable style with those haunting, spooky female vocals supported by solid heavy metal guitars. The second album continued directly from Loreia with great songs like Vargablut or Winter Villa, but it suffered from poor production. Loreia left after the recordings, and before the European tour, Kiki Höjertz joined them. She was previously in a great doom metal band called Left Hand Solution. Kiki would become a full band member, whereas Loreia had only been listed as a guest artist. After the sound problems on Grimjaur, Siebenbürgen ensured Delictum would sound better, and the result to me is still their best album ever, with songs like Levande Begraft and Thy Sister the Crimson Wed. The majority of the songs was now in English, which made them accessible for a wider audience. So they stepped from the underground band only insiders had heard about to an international gothic metal act, and instead of vampires, the lyrics would mostly deal with the subject of sin. On the previous tour, Siebenbürgen and Trail of Tears had supported Tristania and the Sins of Thy Beloved. Both co-headlining bands were awesome, so it was hard for Siebenbürgen to get noticed with a short 25-minute set. On the tour for Delictum, they were number 2 on the bill with German headliners Agato Daimon, who sucked. So it was easy for Siebenbürgen to shine, and as far as I remember, the show ended with the Wasp cover Animal. I met the band after the gig in Hamburg and gave a videotape of the 1999 tour to Linus. You find most of that gig now on my channel, but back then, when you had no YouTube, the only possibility to show videos was copying tapes, losing some image and sound quality with each generation. Anyway, I remember that tall Viking Linus looking down at me, but being very friendly. After Delictum, the 4th album was a bit of a disappointment. There are a few outstanding songs, for example Father of All Lies or As Black as a Midnight Heart, but the scary, weird atmosphere of the early stuff was lacking. The lyrics dealt with an angel going from heaven to hell. Richard Brynjolfsson had joined on guitar, allowing Marcus to fully concentrate on the lead vocals. Napalm Records did a good advertising job for the album, which was available in a normal edition and limited edition with the Judas Priest cover Jawbreaker as bonus track. This would have been the perfect time for a breakthrough and a first headline tour, but instead the band suffered hard blows not only from bad reviews, but also when both singer Kiki and lead guitarist Linus left the band. It took Siebenbürgen 4 years to make the next record. Due to lineup changes, the first version of this album was deleted and then some songs re-recorded with new members. Quite a nerve-wracking procedure until Darker Designs and Images saw the light of day in 2005. For Delictum and Plagued Be Thy Angel, Siebenbürgen had used photographs of Peter Hegre in the artwork, who had become a worldwide famous photographer meanwhile, although, or maybe because, his works are close to pornography. Anyhow, Siebenbürgen had to look for a cheaper solution, and Darker Designs and Images unfortunately looks like it. It's a typical gothic graveyard thing. Rebellion is one of their best straight metal tracks. Born Under a Black Sun is a catchy tune that takes a step towards gothic rock. Forged in Flames manages to create some intensity, but altogether I think it's their weakest album, ending with a sleepy outro, Summon of the Unseen. The band announced they'd split in 2006 due to personal disagreements and lack of energy to continue. Marcus explained there was no farewell tour or something like that because the split of the band was not amicable. Nearly 2 years after the split, Markus Elin tried and revived the band with guitarist Richard and drummer Dennis, but he was the only original member left. In 2008, they released the last album Revelation 6 on Massacre Records, New Deal, New Start. There had been some stylistic changes. The keyboards were more in the foreground now. Generally, the music had become more melodic. In Sanctum sounds almost like the symphonic black metal of Dimmu Borgir. Siebenbürgen had intended to work without a female singer, but when they found Lisa, they figured she would be the right choice also when old songs were to be played live, so she was added to the lineup. Revelation 6 did not succeed and the band split again, this time finally in 2009. They left us 2 awesome albums, Loreia and Delictum, and 4 more records, which all have at least a few great tunes on them. I hope some people out there feel tempted to check them out. Better late than never. Goodbye.